Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Unshaken Woman podcast. For those of you who are new, my name is Adele. I am a feminine energy and inner work coach. I help women connect to their feminine energy, remember their divine worth, and live the life that they choose to live, regardless of the circumstances that they find themselves in. If this sounds like something that you would be interested in, please go ahead and subscribe because those are the types of things that we talk about every single week here. And if you want to be able to connect with me in between episodes, I also have links below for that. So, welcome back to this episode. We are going to be talking about identity. This is something that is very, very near and dear to my heart because it is what started this entire journey for me. A couple of years ago, I found myself in a very dark place, in a place where I felt like I had to people please, a place where I felt like I had to get my validation, get worth from other people. I needed them to tell me who I was. I needed them to tell me that I was enough and that I was doing enough. And if any of you guys have ever been in that type of a situation or lived that type of a life, you realize very quickly that it's very exhausting. It can be very, very hard to find joy in that, and you can just feel like either you're too much or you're not enough, or it's just so hard to show up as yourself. It's a very fearful place as well. And I realized that that is not the type of person that I wanted to be. That's not the life that I wanted to live, that this was not sustainable. And it was not going to push me into becoming the best version of myself. And so I did something. I don't think I knew how transformational it was going to be. I just knew within myself that I needed to make a change, that I needed to start healing my nervous system, that I needed to take time every single day to just be with myself and to be with my heavenly parents. So in the beginning, it wasn't necessarily like a spiritual journey. It was more of just, I need time on my own. I need to be able to connect to myself. But the more I gave this time to myself, the more I spent time in reflection and just slowing down and just being present with myself, the more I was able to connect with this divine version of myself. The more I was able to learn from my heavenly parents who I was and how much they loved me and how valuable I was to them. So as I went through this process, as I went through this journey, the identity of someone who needed other people to validate me, this identity of someone who felt like they were never enough, that they were always too much, that whatever they did was never good enough, that identity dropped off and it was replaced by my true identity. The identity that I was a child of God, that I was loved, that I was valuable, that I was worthy of being loved, and that I was worthy of loving myself. And the more I connected to this part of me, the less the other part, the part that needed that validation, that people pleaser part of me, the less they ran the show, the less that side of me ran the show. And it was amazing because everything in my life changed once I connected to that true identity of myself. I became so much more confident. I was able to say no and mean it. I was able to say yes and mean it. It wasn't just a knee-jerk reaction of, oh, I want to make sure that I'm helping other people, or that the other people are approving of what it is that I'm showing up and doing. I stopped needing that and I started showing up for myself. And what happened is I was able to get myself out of that dark place. I was able to leave a relationship that was no longer serving me. I was able to connect with friends and with people that aligned with my values and my beliefs. And I started showing up as this authentic and pure version of myself. And I learned how important it was and how important it is to have that identity, to have that divine identity. Because we all are living under some type of identity, right? That's how we're showing up. Either we identify as someone who is a people pleaser, or we identify as someone who is confident, or we identify as someone who is very abundant and wealthy. However we identify is the life that we live. So if you do not like the life that you're living right now, if you're not enjoying the circumstances that you're in right now, you need to look at, who are you identifying as? What is your identity? And if it is not matching the version of you that you want to become, this goal version of you, then that identity needs to shift. It needs to change. You cannot grow into and become the highest version of yourself, or the version that you want to become, if you choose to stay in this identity that you're in right now. Because the truth is, if you were living the identity of the person that you want to be, you would already be that person. So reevaluate, look at the identity that you're living from. Now, for me, I had to get down to the very, very basic of, who am I? Who am I underneath all of these other things, underneath being a mom, underneath being a wife, underneath being a friend, a sister, a daughter, all of these things? Who was I underneath all of that? And before you can really go to any other identity, you have to have that foundational identity of, I am a daughter of God. I am loved. I am valued. I am worthy. And how do you do that? You have to get out of your mind. You have to get out of the survival mode, and you need to reconnect to your body. You need to reconnect to that divine part of you. And this is part of feminine energy, connecting to that. Your feminine energy is so connected to intuition. It's so connected to your feelings and your heavenly parents. And so when you connect to your feminine energy, you are able to reconnect to that divine identity of yourself. So I want to walk you through, how do you actually do this? Because it sounds wonderful. And I wish that I would have had the framework that I am teaching you right now back when I was trying to figure it out, because I really just muddled through it, and it took me way longer than it would have if I'd had this framework. But I've also come to realize I needed that. I needed to be able to work through that and to process that, so that I could learn the exact steps, so that I can teach it to you guys, so that you can move on and move up and go faster than I did in whatever identity you are wanting to connect to. So the framework that we're going to use is a framework that I use for pretty much everything, which is the grace model. But we're going to use this in the realm of identity. So it's going to be a little bit different. The steps are going to be the same, but I hope that you'll be able to see how this is going to help you as you're reframing your identity. And really, whatever identity you're wanting. If you're thinking, I want to be a more abundant version of myself, I want to be a kinder version of myself, whatever it is you're trying to, like whatever goal you have for yourself, first you have to change the identity behind who you are right now. Okay? So like I said, for me, it was really, 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 really important that I start at the basics of, am I even loved? I was so beaten down, and I was so, my self-worth was so small that that's where I had to start. So if that's where you're at, this is 100% for you. Or if you're thinking, you're wanting to move into a different version of yourself, this is also for you. So the first step is the grounding step. In order to connect to your feminine energy, to connect to that intuition, and connect to that part of you that can change, you have to get out of your head and you have to get down into your body. Okay? So the grounding step does exactly that. It is where you're going to take nice deep breaths. You're going to focus on, where is my body touching the ground? If you can go outside and put your feet on the actual earth, that is even better. But if you can't, just focus on where you are right now. How does your body feel? What is it feeling? What is it touching? And you're going to be breathing nice deep breaths. You're going to be pulling your awareness from your brain down into your body, where you can actually receive true divine intuition, is through your body. Our brains, our minds sometimes like to trick us. But if you are settled in your body, you will be receiving the divine intuition that you need. I have found that for myself. Okay, so the next step is recognizing what emotions you're feeling right now. You might be feeling overwhelmed. You might be feeling angry. You might be feeling sad. You might be feeling guilt. You might be feeling grief. Just recognize whatever feeling you have coming in. So you're going to name it if you can. Sometimes emotions are, especially when you're first doing this, they can feel confusing. And so maybe you don't know exactly what it is you're feeling, and that's okay. Just recognize that you're feeling a feeling, and maybe even recognize where in your body it is. So I've done this many, many times with many different people as we are recognizing the feelings, and then be like, okay, where do you feel it in your body? I feel it in my chest. And if that's where you're feeling it, great. You're going to put your awareness to your chest or the tightness, wherever it is, your chest, your stomach, your throat, your head, wherever you are feeling the feelings. You're just going to settle into it, and you're going to let them be there. Be like, oh, I recognize that I'm feeling something in my chest, and so I'm going to send my awareness there. Or if you can name it, I recognize that I'm feeling anger. That's fine. You're just going to name it. The next step is accepting. You're going to accept whatever feeling it is that you're feeling. Whatever feeling you are feeling is 100% valid, and it's supposed to be there. Okay? It is just a feeling that you're feeling. There's nothing wrong with it. We don't need to get rid of it. We don't need to shame it. And it doesn't mean that you're broken, and it doesn't mean that you are an angry, hateful person if you're feeling that emotion. It just means that, hey, something happened and this is what I'm feeling. They're just messengers, really. They don't mean anything. And so if we can recognize them and we can accept them, that's when they can go away. But if we try to hide them, or if we try to pretend that they're not there, or if we tuck them away, we're just saving them for later. So if you want to be able to process through an emotion, the best way to do it is recognize and accept it. And then very, very quickly, it will move through your system. The next step is to connect. This is my favorite step because this is like the turning point. Up until this point, you have just been experiencing the emotions that you're feeling. You've been having a lot of feelings in your body. You've possibly maybe cried, or you felt the feelings, and that's fine. It can feel scary and confusing at first, but you're doing exactly right. The next step, this connection step, is fun because it's the turning point from this is what I'm feeling to this is who I am becoming. And that is really the catalyst. That is the change. That is when you really are able to change that identity, right? You're connecting with God and you're saying, okay, who do I want to be, and who do you want me to be on the other side of this experience? And this is where you can get really quiet, and you can really settle in, and you can really receive that divine message from God. So for me, when I was going through this process and I was feeling my feelings and I was accepting my feelings and I was just allowing them to be there, when I got to this connection step, I simply just asked God, who am I? Underneath all of this, who am I? I don't even know who I am anymore. And that is where I was able to get quiet, and I was able to listen, and He told me and He taught me how much He loved me. He showed me, and I felt how much He loved me. And that was the turning point for me. That's when my identity went from needing someone else to validate me to being the person that knew that I was of value, that I was loved, and that I was special. And it didn't matter what the other person said about me, that my worth didn't come from them. It came from my inner knowing, and it came from me just existing. We have value simply because we exist. We don't need to do anything to prove that we are valuable. We don't need to do anything to prove that we are worth being loved. There is nothing that you can do that will add value to you or that will take value away from you. You are valuable simply because you exist. So that is where I learned that, and I embodied that. I had grown up hearing it, and I think there's a part of me, I did know that, but sometimes we forget these things, especially through life situations, life circumstances, and experiences that we have. We can sometimes forget that. And so this was a remembering moment for me where I got to remember what it felt like to be loved, what it felt like to be of so much value. And when I remembered and when I became aware of that, and when I pulled it into myself and I said, you know what? I am a woman of worth. I am a woman worthy of being treated well and of being loved simply because I exist. That was, like I said, the turning point. I went from being a people pleaser to being someone who could say no. I was able to say no, and I was able to say yes. And that's the beautiful part when you pull yourself out of people pleasing and you really show up for yourself. Your yeses mean so much more, and your nos are solid boundaries of what you won't cross, and it protects you. And I just thought that was really neat. As I learned that, I thought, oh my gosh, I love that I can show up better for myself. I can be more authentic for myself. And when I'm authentic for myself, I'm then more authentic for those around me, and I'm able to show up better. When you are struggling with your self-worth, when you're struggling with feeling like you're worthy, you are not as genuine and as kind and as good of a person as you could be if you pull it all back and you connect with yourself. Like, we have this false narrative that, oh, I'm people pleasing, I'm doing all of these things, therefore I'm a really good person. Is that what it is? Or are you just trying to manipulate people to think that you're a good person so that you can feel good about yourself? Are you doing things for other people so that they will think things about you so that you can think things about yourself? Do you see how that can be like a funny little circle that we play with ourselves? What if we just connect to ourselves and recognize, I am a woman of value and of worth, and I don't need to do anything for other people for them to see me as valuable. So then when you do show up to do things for other people, it is out of the absolute genuineness of your heart and the love that you want to give to them. Not so that they can validate you, but so that you can show love to them. And that is so much more authentic. That's so much more pure. And I think that that is just the way that we want to, in our purest form, that's how we want to show up, right? So let's get rid of the little circles that we play, trying to get other people to validate us. Start validating ourselves so that we can show up as our most authentic self. Another part of this connection step is giving God what is His and taking responsibility for what is ours. Our responsibility are things like how we choose to show up, whether or not we are choosing to connect with God, whether or not we're choosing to better ourselves. Those are all things that we can take care of. Everything else is God's, right? We don't get to control the timing. We don't get to control the outcomes. We don't get to control circumstances. We get to control ourselves. And so when we can let go of this illusion of having control, and when we can realize that I am my responsibility, and I am the only one that is responsible for me, and I'm going to let God take care of everything else, there's so much freedom that comes from that. So much stress is let go of when you're able to give God what is His. You can't control the outcomes anyways. Why are you worried about it? Why are you stressing about it? Show up as the best version of yourself and trust that God is going to lead you where you need to go. Because I promise you, He will. He will take you exactly where you need to go when you stop trying to drive the car. Like, He's trying to get you there and you're over there fighting for the steering wheel. You're not going to get anywhere, and you're not going to get there quickly and probably not safely. You're going to have a couple accidents along the way until you can learn to surrender that. So give God what is His and take accountability and responsibility for what is yours. And this goes with anything. I've been talking about identity as in, your core identity as a child of God. But if you're wanting to change your identity in other things, like being more abundant, being more, whatever it is, like the type of person that you're wanting to show up as, you can do the same thing. You can say, okay, well, show me who I am. Show me how this is going to work. And you ask for that divine revelation from God so that He can show you what it looks like. Because if you can't connect with that version of yourself if you don't know what that is going to how that's going to work. You need to be able to have him reveal that to you so that you can identify as that and be like, oh, this is me now. This is who I am. The last step is embody. And this is where you really take that on. You can, like for me, when I had those experiences, I could have had those experiences and then chose not to do anything about them and continue to be people pleasing. Or I could have those experiences, recognize that I am of value, and step into that identity as a woman of value. And when I did that, there were certain steps that needed to be taken. I needed to start standing up for myself. I needed to start showing up as a woman who valued herself. And that was so much easier once I identified with that identity and said, okay, this is who I am now. The embodiment stage just kind of happened because I chose to become that woman. I chose to show up as that version of myself. And when I did, everything changed for me. Everything changed. I became the woman that was more confident. I became the woman that could say no. I became the woman that no longer accepted the bare minimum in relationships. The woman that realized that she had value, that she had worth. And the woman that was able to walk away from relationships and situations that just did not align anymore with who I was. So that is how I went from feeling so devalued and feeling so confused and feeling so much anxiety and worry and trying so hard to be the right person for someone else, to a woman who loves herself, who connects with herself, and who shows up for herself. I'm not perfect in this. I still have opportunities to go through this grace model and re-strengthen my identity or reconnect with that identity or reconnect with a new identity of a woman that I'm wanting to become. But these are the steps that are going to take you from where you are to where you want to be, showing up as the person that you want to be. And it works every single time. And it works because you're getting out of your head, you're getting out of survival mode, you're connecting back to your feminine energy, you're connecting to your divine worth, and you're letting God lead you where you need to go. He will never lead you astray, ever. The only time we go astray is when we start trying to drive the bus. We need to let him be the bus driver. We need to let him lead us to where we need to go. It doesn't mean that everything in our life is always going to be super duper easy. I mean, we have to learn and we have to grow, but it does mean that we are going to get where we need to be, and it's going to be the most transformational, and it's going to be the best for us in the long run if we can stay connected and trusting to God. I hope that this episode has been helpful to you. I love teaching these things. I love teaching the change from being where you are to getting to where you want to be. So if this has been helpful, please share this with other people that might need it, with other women who need to be able to connect to their identity and reconnect to their feminine energy. And if you want to work with me, I have links below where you're able to sign up for one-on-one coaching with me, or I also have a private Facebook group. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that you never miss another episode. Thank you for showing up, and I love you. I will see you next week.